Tell me that story about the second time you got a big load and with the problem with the truck.
Oh well, the warehouse backed out on us, and they couldn't get access to the warehouse. So I'm sitting in the back of a semi-trailer, moseying down at 65, 75 miles an hour while I'm digging for kilos, looking through produce.
They were like signaled by some salmon or something?
Yeah. I mean, we had some schematics of where exactly the wall was, that, you know, the crates were varying. But when you don't have a warehouse, you know, the most dangerous the most dangerous part of it is unloading it and transferring it from the back of that door of that semi-truck to the back of some Suburbans or some trucks that are lined up. And, you know, you want to have a couple in case one guy gets popped. You know, you send one guy this way, you know, you're talking 200-300 kilos.
So
you
three
know,
Suburbans pull up, each get 100 bricks.
Yeah, send them in different directions, post them somewhere till you get to where you're going to receive them all, and then bring them in little by little, one by one. You know, I was in an apartment setting downtown, so for me it was, you know, I couldn't just pull up a truck over by my spot.
You weren't living at your stash.
No. I mean, you know, you got different ways to do it. You know, sometimes you're stuck with it at home with you. You know, but I'm a small operation. I mean, it's crazy. You know, I went from handling deliveries and being a lieutenant and handling money and holding things for them and not really being responsible and knowing what it is to be responsible for that large amount of quantities of things. So for me, it was like surreal, you know, to be in knee deep in kilos in my bathtub and not, you know, I gotta move all this shit, you know. So
as far as like the cartel representatives here, were they probably Mexican nationals? I mean, were they, or a mixture? Were they people living here? Were they Americanized?
Mostly everyone that I knew was from down there. They were here with a fake ID or of some sort. Very rarely did I know somebody that was here legitimately.
So they would be, even if a person wanted to give them up, it'd be hard.
It'd be hard because they had. I mean, unless, you know, you knew who you were. Of course, you knew who you were working for, and you could tell them I work for this person. Theoretically, but you didn't know.
That person wasn't coming to Chicago and giving you anything.
And that's the tricky part of this shit is that, you know, they do this. You know, some of these guys are cousins and family and things, so they do it in a way where it's a plug-and-play situation where if shit hits the fan, they could just remove who they care about. Everyone else is collateral damage, including you, who is the end.
You're the American.
You're the guy. I'm the American. I'm stuck here. I'm fucked. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Where can I go? You know, trying to run away to a foreign country. We all see how that, you know, goes.
There was an incident a few years ago, or it's an ongoing trial where...
That's it. Those cartel guys from Mexico, if everything hits the fan, they could just up and go. And you burn for it.
Where some Sinaloa hitters were sent through Chicago to kill a bunch of people that didn't pay debts. Like, was that
you hear horror stories. You know, it's real. It happens. But, you know, it's very rare when they, you know, some of that stuff is just a loss, like a write-off on your taxes. They just look at it like, yo, that's it. I think it's when you make it personal, or you deal with somebody or try to take somebody's wife or their girl, or you deal with their family member and you make something, a personal connection, and you're almost family, and then you betray them, then I think it becomes personal. And it's more of a, like, you know, a disgruntled boyfriend or something that kills a girl that cheats on him or something. Really? So it becomes a passion project as opposed to, you know, fuck that, it's a loss, let's move on, go on to something else. Because the reality of it is that they're never risking more than they can afford to lose.
Now, on your end, the people under you are helping you. You're probably using the same people and you know each other. But the guys driving the trucks...
No, I had no clue who they were. They were just hired. They got no communication with me other than my burner at that day and say, hey, I'm here, I'm an hour away or 2 hours away, and that's it. And then that phone's usually never again, or that guy's
the same drivers twice?
Never.
Not really.
Not hardly ever, you know. So there's a lot of like throwaways, change the combinations and switch the keys.
With 300 kilos, and even if you wanted to tell.
Yeah, well, they made it that way because if they knew who they were going to and they get pinched, you know, half of the time they don't really know whose load it is. It's some random guy that comes up to them and says, yo, take this shit from here to there, and that's that.
Compartmentalized. Everybody knows what they're supposed to know and nothing more.
Flores Twins in Music, you helped run their record label along with help running something with KATO, but told me something kind of shocking about one of the world's biggest stars today.
Back in 2006, I believe he had a mixtape called Room for Improvement, Drake, and he had a song, Kick Push. I think he just remixed Lupe's version, which Lupe's good friends of our Chill. Shout out to Chill.
Chill's manager. I mean, Chill was Lupe's manager, and he got like 50 years for heroin conspiracy.
Yeah. They're trying to get him home still, you know. Unfortunately, he's paralyzed in prison. He caught a bad break. He's in the middle of a fight, rolled down some stairs, and
oh, really?
Yeah, and he's now paralyzed. So
people that think prison's easy.
No, it ain't. You know, you could be at there's definitely the wrong place at the wrong time at more frequent.
It's the worst. You get out of there different. You're already gonna get out of prison different. But now you different, you maimed.
Frequently in prison, and that's just one of them. You know, I don't wish that on nobody. It's shitty enough to be in prison than to be, locked up in a wheelchair. But shout out to Lupe, man. Mr. Sunday's Pasta. You know, we used to sit at Grand Lux and eat.
Finish what happened with Drake.
Oh, well, with Drake is
I wish we could see the uncut versions of these interviews. I'm sure there's a bunch of cool hip-hop stories that got nothing to do with the cartel that Al cut off or interrupted.
You know, he was looking for a deal, and I believe we gave him $100,000.
And at this point, the Twins were already under indictment.
Yeah. So.
And what happened when you sent Drake to $100,000?
Well, the contract fell to the wayside. It had a timeline to be signed, and Valerie was going through trying to be a mom, deal with the whole situation of, them being away and on the run. So she decided that it was better for her to be a mom at that moment.
That might have been a second life waiting for y'all right there. A bunch of money that had nothing to do with the cartel. A bunch of money that had nothing to do with the deal or the witness protection. If you'd have got Drake and nailed Drake to the wall and had his contract, y'all would have had all the money y'all needed right now to do whatever you wanted, which you probably got anyway. But that would have been a move right there. That Drake ended up being a big payday.
Let that kind of dissolve and, kept the money contractually. He was able to keep the money. There was a legal entity here, that was legit, and, they had legal tender, from their deal with Magic. So it was easy to give him $100,000. And, the deal was they were going to put him with Swiss, Scott Storch, all the top producers.
You guys were already working with them.
Yeah, we were already working with them.
You had bought beats.
I mean, they were handing Scott Storch $1 million at a time for beats. So
Oh, because when did Dre 2001 come out? Like 03 or 4 or something?
Yeah.
So he was up.
What are y'all talking about? 2001 came out in 2000.
Big ass deal.
Oh yeah, no, he was.
Might have been late '99. I don't remember, but it was 2000 because he was gonna call it the Chronic 2000, but Suge blocked that by putting out something called the Chronic 2000, so he called it the Chronic 2001.
He was a super big deal.
So when Scott Storch talks about he blew whatever $100 million and he was flying jets, I mean, some of that money was coming from.
Yeah, I mean, the music has always been intertwined with the underworld. We all know that. That's not no secret. So it's not really like, oh wow, he had illicit funds. Like, shit. Half of these guys' income comes from off the street for these concerts and everything. So, yeah, I mean, we were at that point where we were gonna sign Drake, and I say we because I was kind of consulting from a distance. I had my own label, they had their own label, and I would help out here and there until we just kind of at one point lost all communications. I think when shit was going like really hectic for them, we decided to really like separate things, you know, for safety reasons. You know, I'm sure they had all their reasons in the.
So you were present when you know, you got to say who it was given to, but you saw the Flores twins give large sums of money to different industry.
Oh yeah, I mean, even from the KATO thing, I dropped the book bag off to Kanye West for the 3 tracks we bought from Kanye. You know what I'm saying? That was
hundreds of thousands.
60. No, that was 60 grand. He was just into the blueprint, so he was just getting his first big
And what artists
placements.
got these beats?
Prophet. We're gonna interview Prophet. Shout out to Prophet, Dinero Records.
But that album never came out.
No, it never came
Because
out.
of Kato's death?
Yeah,
primarily?
yeah. Well, we still got a lot of that stuff, and we're
Yeah, you played me a song with Fat Joe.
yeah. That was our Fat Joe feature. I mean, we worked with everybody. You know, all the hottest producers that we worked with in the city went on to be some of the bigger producers. I mean, we worked with No ID, we worked with Extreme, we worked with LA, we worked with Boogs the Beast, who's like Kanye's right-hand man. You know, we always had that in with what was hot and what was happening. It wasn't just a bunch of money being thrown around, you know, unorganized. Like, there was a structure to it. If you hear it and you take yourself back to that era, you can hear where it would have been a viable release, you know. We had everyone on there. You know, DMX was on a remix. We had a track with R. Kelly through all of his madness.
Speaking of R. Kelly's and his manager are really the reason you kind of...
Well, yeah, Big John, who was R. Kelly's road manager at the time, and Blackie was also a really good close friend of mine. They had invited me to go hoops with them, and when I went to go play hoops with them, it really was an interview.
So this is at a place in Chicago where different celebrities rent out.
Yeah, it's actually called Hoops. It's on Randolph. If you're a baller, you know, Jordan's held camps there back in the day before he had other complexes to go do it at. But you know, it's a couple $100 an hour to rent the court down there. So you're spending $1,000 just to play ball. You know, so I'm on the court adjacent to theirs because there's nets in between, and there's about 3 or 4 courts that can be rented. And I'm with R. Kelly's crew.
He's courting you to do what?
Well, Big John's courting me to manage me because he saw how much money I was making on the mixtapes, and he had talks of like, well, thinking he would wow me with being R. Kelly's tour DJ, but you know, I wasn't per se a club DJ or a tour DJ or none of that. I was more of
selling mixtapes.
Yeah, I was selling mixtapes. I was more of a mixtape distributor. So I curated, came up with the titles, put the titles together, and hired them out. You know, I worked with all the best DJs in the city, which is why I ended up being on top of radio, because every DJ was in my collective. I had a collective called the Associates, and I had every single radio DJ in a coalition together.
So you're at this big basketball complex. You're in one court with R. Kelly and his manager and their crew, and then you look over and there's like an all-Mexican game.
Yeah, they're throwing big bets down on the floor.
These are all Mexican.
You know, tens of thousands of dollars on the floor. There's Mexicans with boots and hats.
Cowboys.
You know, and they're betting on games that really you can't even predict the outcome of, because the level of the talent.
It's
I mean,
low.
yeah, you know,
regular guys.
Yeah, I mean, Twin used to pull up from half court and do his Steph Curry thing back in the day. He thought he had a jumper, but you know, it is what it is. It seemed odd to me. It seemed odd to me that they were betting. Nonetheless, they asked me if I wanted to play a quick game, a pickup game with them, and fill a spot for somebody while I was waiting to get on the other court. And I played a game with them really quick. And then they approached me, talked to me like, yo, what's up? What you doing over there? You know, I know you got to be doing something. You know, you got the truck, you got the chain and all that. You know, you got the gear. So they approached me thinking that I was one of them and that I could do something for them and connect them to a world, you know, that I really at that point had no idea about.
You were just got invited down.
Yeah,
you were just entering it to yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I knew people that sold bags and little shit, and I fucked around here and there, but nothing on the scale that they were on. And then,
what was your first drug transaction with them?
you know, a couple birds, one or two here and there, you know,
And
checking
you
the
cracked on
temperature.
them?
Well, yeah, because at that point I knew they had it. They had already approached me about working with them, or doing or selling shit for them. And then that's at the same time that the mixtape scene was crashing.
And you had been, just to refresh people, you were making drug dealer money.
Oh yeah, no, 350 titles at a minimum of 2,000-3,000 a piece on average. Some of my mixtapes sold 5,000 to 10,000
You were
pieces.
making $5 to $10 a week in your pocket, maybe?
Easy.
Oh wow.
Easy.
I
could go.
The lifestyle.
Yeah, I could go to one store. My guy Mike Batter, who owned the mix shops in all the malls, he had the monopoly on it. I'd be picking up an invoice for 4,000 or 5,000 at one store who owned 6 or 7 carts in the malls. You know, so those were the larger accounts. But I'd hit it hard from all the way from Milwaukee to Gary, Indiana in my own car, and then I was shipping to 13, 14 states.
So he had his own routes in the mixtape game, not even the hustle game. Had his own routes already all over the country.
Air cargo. So my shit was gonna be RICO, racketeering, air mail, wire fraud,
You're already a RICO violator.
tax
anyway.
evasion, the whole 9 yards, over selling mixtapes. So it wasn't like somebody twisted my arm or put a gun to my head and said, yo, sell drugs. I was like, shit, I'm better off over here. They won't even know my face. My face is all on these mixtapes.
Logical transition as far as he was concerned.
What were, at the beginning, what were the price of kilos, like way back then?
I mean, back then it was $16,000, $17,000 was, you know,
Those were good. They weren't touched.
No, that was the real deal, you know. So
would you touch them up a little, or how were you?
Nah, anything I ever did was, I hardly even touched it. If I can grab them and deliver them on my way home and get them off of my lap.
What would you charge? 19?
You know, I put $1 on it, $2. You know what I'm saying? Whatever the market was allowing you to put on it at those days. I mean, when they left, fucking coke price doubled. You know, so it went from 16, 17 to 28, 29 and getting 30, 31, 32 on the street. You know, that just shows you the gravity of how much control they had in the market, you know.
I think the government, I mean, we're talking about them with 2,000 kilos a month. I don't think they introduced a lot of heroin evidence. I don't know if, do you have any guesstimation of the accurate, was it more than that, or you don't really know?
I mean, I could tell you we received several shipments a night for 300-400 keys from separate different.
Same day?
Yeah, different nights. You know, there'd be a night where 300 coming from this way, 400 coming from that way, and logistically we're figuring out where to put all the shit.
Oh, so
you know
that's
what I'm saying?
700 in a day right
yeah,
there.
so
That's going
you know,
on every week.
You're never really gonna know. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's
probably the low. 2,000 a month's probably the low end.
Yeah. So, and that's probably at their peak too. You know, the low end. You know, because when I was around them, I wouldn't say that they were all the way at their peak, but they were getting there. You know, they were on the way there, and real close to it. I mean, they left at their peak, but when I knew them and first met them, they weren't at their peak per se. They were building, you know, their run at it. So, you know, not back to the music. You know, there's not anybody we haven't really worked with. You know. From some of our guys were neighbors with fucking Timberland, you know what I'm saying? Swapping cars with Timberland, you know?
And you're still friends, like right now you're talking to Cootie, Will Gates, these are still your friends.
Oh yeah, man, shout out to Will Gates, man, that's my brother. We're doing a lot of things, trying to do some documentaries, you know.
And he did.
I mean, he's shot videos for Rick Ross, Chance the Rapper,
and then Cootie,
Meek
I
Mill.
remember Cootie and Chike, they
well,
did
the only real footage out there of Kanye and KATO was shot by Cootie. That's Cootie's footage.
Oh, is it in that documentary?
I don't know if it's in that documentary, but it's out. It's out everywhere.
Oh, it's on the internet?
Yeah, it's on the internet.
Oh,
I'll share you a link with that. But that's a fun fact right there, you know, and Cootie and Cheek, them guys been around since forever, you know what I'm saying? They were video guys, you know, I think Cootie got 30 million right now to do that documentary, give that documentary for Netflix for Kanye, you know. But you know, he got the golden juice. He got all the footage of the early workings of him being in the studio with, you name it, you know, at the rise of his career.
So here in Chicago, I mean, in the entertainment business in general, the streets and entertainment are so intertwined that even people we don't think of as being street or whatever, Kanye West and Drake.
Nah, I mean,
who else? Entertainment is a very risky business.
It's all interwoven. Take it back to my mixtapes, right? I'm selling mixtapes. I'm making dope money, right? I'm in Evergreen Plaza. I pick up $4,000 or $5,000, $2,000, $3,000 from the store there. You know, where's the Lark? The Lark is in the mall. I go to the Lark. Who's in the Lark? GLC, really though. You know, everybody knew Kanye worked at the Gap downtown. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's no. You know, there's no way to just tell you the magnitude of like how interwoven and how everyone knows each other.
No barrier to entry. When it comes to the music business, when it comes to the creative culture, when it comes to art, it's intertwined with the streets, always has been. It's part of it.
You know,
of course, at that time, those people just seem like local rappers.
Yeah, and then they end up being on his album and they become celebrities, and then when they come in town, they gotta go make a call, check in with the old man, and you know, meet up with Wendy and get on the phone with Hoover and check in there. And then when you're on a different side of town, you call up KATO and you're, hey man, I'm gonna be over here. You think you can ride me around and detail me there?
Even where you're gonna be, you check in with
yeah, you know. So, I mean, it's crazy, you know. I mean, we were part of the situation when Payroll, who was on the Jay-Z songs, the Never Change and all that stuff that Kanye told to Jay-Z, when that whole situation happened in Isaac Hayes, when they cracked a bottle over people's heads and
what?
I mean, Payroll was trying to get at Kanye.
Who was Payroll?
Payroll's a Chicago rapper.
Okay, and he was, so he had done music on Never Change before he gave it to Jay-Z.
Yeah, verse, and you look up Never Change, Payroll, and you'll hear the exact verse that Jay-Z's spitting.
Jay-Z used his verse?
Yes.
Shut the fuck up.
I wouldn't lie to you. I'm a factual person.
I'm just saying.
You know, so,
wow.
So they were they were at beef, at war, and he caught up with him at Isaac Hayes, and Kanye's on the phone with KATO while we have a label. We had already done beats with him and everything. You know what I'm saying?
We cracked the bottle over Kanye's head.
Yeah, you know, he called him around those times, and it's like, well, you already got detail. You got somebody to take you around town. You know, if you want me to, you know, call me when you're on my side of town, you know? So
whoever he had wasn't protecting him.
Right. Well, I mean, nothing happened to him. You know, I think Payroll fell short or whoever they were. I don't know the exact. Tried to hit him with a bottle, or a bottle flew somewhere. You know, I could fact check that with a couple phone calls and get the story from somebody that was on the ground floor. But I know we got a call that night about the situation.